You can hear tonight's game on 7:40 The Game, beginning with the pregame show at 7:30. Mark Daniels has the call at 8 o'clock. The Orlando Magic will be in the Big Apple tonight to take on Amari Stoudemire, Carmelo Anthony, and the New York Knicks. The Magic have won 3 in a row, but Coach Stan Van Gundy still not happy with his team's turnover woes. Tonight's game tips off at 8 o'clock. In Florida spring football practice, former Sanford Seminole product Andre DeBose is making some noise at wide receiver, but his coach Will Muschamp would like to see DeBose become more consistent.
I've been pleased with his athleticism in the offseason. Just being a consistent worker all the time. He's got to understand it's a day-to-day thing. It's not just one day here, one day the next.
In college baseball last night, former West Orange standout Nolan Fontana clouded a grand slam homer to help number 1 Florida rout Winthrop 22-5. The UCF baseball team fell to the Miami Hurricanes 4-1. That's your sports update. I'm Tom Morgan on your home for the NCAA tournament, Florida and BYU tomorrow night at 6:45, 540 WFLA.
Created by broad public participation. The facts are all there and they're up to date.
Now, more Bud Henninger live on 540 WFLA.
Special guest right now, the Florida Senate President Mike Haridopolos out of Merritt Island, and now running the show in the Senate in a landmark legislative session that continues in Tallahassee. Nice to have you with us this morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, Bud. Thanks for the opportunity to be on.
Well, it's good to have you here. We're going to have to move in rapid-fire fashion because we're only good for about the next 6 minutes, you and I. So let me ask you, on the first anniversary of Obamacare becoming the law of the land, your thoughts and its impact already here in Florida?
Well, it's a big impact already. As you know, in less than 2.5 years, we're going to see an increase on the Medicaid rolls of 50%. And an additional 1.5 million Floridians will be on Medicaid, basically free health care, and that means everybody else can have to pay a lot more for something they simply can't afford right now.
Are you hopeful that ultimately Judge Vinson's decision will wind up being upheld by the United States Supreme Court and will undo Obamacare?
I'm hopeful. Ronald Reagan is the gift that keeps on giving. As you know, he appointed Judge Vinson back in 1983.
Right.
And here in the Florida Senate, we have already acted to pass what's called health care freedom, meaning putting on the ballot the elimination of the mandate that says if you can't afford insurance, you'd have to pay $400. We're going to fight that section of Obamacare and give voters the final say on that issue.
From the inside, what do we need to know about this legislative session? I mean, I think it's a landmark session. I mean, you got dominant majorities, the Republicans, you've got a conservative Republican governor, and things are really moving.
Yes, they are. We've been very aggressive about what we're doing. We want to be methodical in what we're doing. As you know, Bud, we're facing a $3.8 billion shortfall. The economy's actually gotten worse, as you know. Our deficit increased by $200 million, but that means we've got to spend less. We're not going to raise taxes. We're not going to raise fees. But we've already moved on landmark legislation, probably most importantly, the merit pay idea that good teachers, the best teachers, we paid more.
Oh, listen, I was with you all the way on that. You got a tremendous amount of pushback, but you stood strong on that. Now, here's the deal. Rick Scott, your governor, wants both spending cuts and tax cuts at the same time. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, the leadership in the legislature is on record as saying, let's do the spending cuts and then we'll consider tax cuts. Is that your stance?
Yes, it is, Bud. You've done your homework. First step is cutting spending. Every administration, whether it be Washington or Tallahassee, has always had a spending problem. Our time is now to lead by example. We're going to spend at least $3.8 billion less. Then we'll look at tax break opportunities. But we've got to show fiscal discipline. Families and businesses that are already doing it, it's time for the government to tighten its own belt first.
I have a real problem with Rick Scott on this issue of wanting to kill a database for these pill mills, for OxyContin, because it invades personal medical privacy. Where do you stand on that? We've got a problem in this state. I mean, worse than anywhere else with these pill mills. Where are you, sir, on this?
Oh, and unfortunately, this is where the governor and I also disagree. I believe strongly in the pill mill legislation, making sure we stop these pill mills. Attorney General Pam Bondi and I are leading the fight to preserve the database. It's been successful in other states without invading privacy. I'm standing firm with Attorney General Pam Bondi. We're fighting this. and we're hopeful that the governor will come our way.
Well, I'm with you on that. Thank you, sir. We're talking with Senate President Mike Haridopolos in rapid-fire fashion. Let's move on. We've been talking about President Obama. He wants to help the Brazilians develop their oil resources, but he continues to keep the shackles on our domestic drilling. What are the circumstances in which you would support drilling off the coast of Florida?
Well, as you know, with Dean Cannon as the Speaker of the House and myself, supported the idea of drilling off the coast of Florida. And unfortunately, with the incident in Louisiana, we could not move forward until we find out all the facts. But here's another fact that's important. Right now in Cuba, they are drilling off the coast of Florida. And God forbid something happens there, we're not protected. We've already started to put a letter together to the governor to make sure we have a plan of action. But I support drilling for the simple idea that we need to become more self-dependent.
Is it going to come up in, I agree with that, is it going to come up in this session of the legislature, or will it be further downstream?
I think it unfortunately has to be further downstream for this reason. We don't know all the contributing factors to what happened off the coast of Louisiana. And until we have all those facts, we need to make an informed decision. But until then, we are moving aggressively on a more diverse energy portfolio. Adam Putner, our Commissioner of Education, has done a great job in talking about biofuels and solar. We're going to look at a more diversified portfolio because the Middle East is blowing up as we speak.
Absolutely right. The unstable oil supply is good. I'm glad to hear you're still on board for drilling, at least at some point. I'm inside a minute left. Senate President Mike Haridopolos, high-speed rail is dead. You and I are happy about that, even though there was a time when we supported both. Will commuter rail be killed by Governor Scott, and should it be?
I don't know that answer yet. Again, the great thing about this governor is he's making fact-based decisions, not political decisions.
Would you advise him to kill commuter rail in Orlando or not?
I can't tell you those yet because I don't know all the facts. He's doing a very good job of getting that ridership study. Let's find out what those facts bring us. I think the facts should make the decisions, and only if the numbers justify it, but we don't know at this point. We're not going to know until July.
I've got one more for you. Why the foot-dragging by the Republican leadership on implementing fair districts as passed by the people constitutionally last fall?
I don't think we're dragging our feet at all. I mean, we're going to have 20 public hearings across the summer. This is going to be a decision that every person across Florida has the ability to have input. And whether it be you or I or any citizen of Florida can get online and draw districts right on the Senate website. You can give us good input in how we do it in a fair, responsible way.
All right, thank you, Senate President Mike Haridopolos, and I know you got a busy day ahead of you in Tallahassee. We will follow it all. There's never been a session quite like it, has there?
No, it's exciting, but this is the opportunity to lead, and there's no excuses.
Thank you, Mike Haridopolos, so much for being on the show. 407-916-5400, toll-free, 1-866-916-5400. He's your Senate leader. I'll take calls on the interview as we roll on at 812 on BHL.
From the David Moss Volkswagen Lee Road Traffic Center, continue to see a very slow ride westbound I-4 just past Dirksen Drive as you make your way into State Road 46. This all due to an earlier crash that was at State Road 46. Looks like it has now been cleared out of your way. Eastbound I-4 slows between OBT through downtown and very slow westbound along the 408 from Dean Road into the Greenway. No problems at the time along 528, and we're checking clear along the Turnpike. Moving well in both directions of the Greenway as well. From the Traffic Center, I'm Courtney Bright.
From 540 WFLA, Orlando's 24-hour weather channel. No mention of rain in the forecast over the next several days, and as we go through lunchtime, sunshine, and it gets hot. The high temperature in the upper 80s, low tonight near 60. Weather updated around the clock on 540 WFLA. I'm David Maddox at the Weather Channel.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Morello. Coming up in your 8:30 news, diplomats working on a plan to let NATO take over the no-fly zone over Libya, Vice President Biden in Central Florida stumping for Senator Nelson, and a bill to require ultrasounds before abortions is moving in the state legislature.
Hey, you know, Florida Insurance Specialist continues to save a ton of money for my listeners here because so many have gone to their website, challengemyrate.com, and found out in minutes how much they can save over what they are now paying for their homeowners insurance premiums. You got State Farm out there, wants a 28% rate hike. You may be paying too much, no matter who your carrier is. Why don't you find out? Let them go shopping over 30 A-rated companies to get you the very best deal, and literally through their high technology, Florida Insurance Specialists will give you your savings on homeowners in minutes. And listen to this. An Altamont Springs customer switched from State Farm to Olympus, saved $700 a year. What can you save? Find out now at Challenge.